Hey guys, quick attacking game here. I start with d4. He plays d5, play the Queen's Gambit, and then he defends. I think that's called the Grunfeld. And I decide to just develop my knight, and then he plays this Caro-Kann structure. Um, and then I develop my bishop just because I felt like it this game, because normally I keep it behind the pawn chain. But now he plays this interesting move coming out to here, and this is attacking my queen, so I can't move my pawn how I was planning to next move. Um, so I immediately just kind of poke at it, saying, well, what are you doing here? Because you have no knight to exchange, so you have to run, and I'll get this h3 move in. And he commits to this diagonal now. He's no longer here. So now I'm considering this move, but then he'll just tuck here, and it'll be difficult to get at, and he'll have a nice slice through my position. But that would give me a tempo to be able to develop my bishop. The problem is this diagonal is well defended by his pawns, so I didn't decide for that. I just decided to give him the target of the knight. Now this pawn can move, and the knight protects my queen. And if he wants to trade bishop for knight, I'm all for it. He immediately does, which is, in my opinion, a bad decision. Um, so now I have the choice, do I take back with this pawn or this pawn? Now, if I take back with this pawn, I'm capturing towards the center, and then I'm saving this move. And then this pawn will support this move. And then if there were some exchanges, I could undouble these pawns and take control of the center. So that's something worth considering. The problem is my queen side is open and my king has nowhere safe to go if I play like that. So I decide to take like this. And I also get my bishop to view this pawn that's undefended. Okay, even though he's not really considering taking that because it's hard to hold on to a position like that when white plays a4 and has queen and knight involved. It's not really a free pawn. That's why the Queen's Gambit is good. But sometimes it is. So I decided to go like this, but mostly just because I want a castle. Now he is threatening to bring his other bishop out, and I bring my bishop here because I want to castle and try to have a safe game. I could bring it here or here. I choose to go in the middle. I'm blocking my defense of this pawn, but his knight can't use this square because of his pawn structure, so shouldn't be an issue. If he takes now, it makes more sense for black because I just wasted a move from here to here, and then I have to move it again. But he decides to pin my knight, and I castle and say I don't care. And oh, I thought he was going to take, but now he plays this move, so potentially threatening here. Not really sure what this move is about. I immediately attack his bishop, saying, please take me, because then I will have a bishop pair versus a pair of knights, and that should be up a pawn, essentially, because I consider bishops worth a little, like 3.5. Anyway, he ducks it and goes to a diagonal that his queen can control, and he's ruining my plans of this bishop having a good day. So, because if it was attacked, it could always duck back here or here, and my king is safe, and the bishop here would be nice. So I decide I still want to do this in the long term, but if I drop back now, he can take me, and if I play queen up, he takes me, and then my queen can come up, but my queen's not really going to do anything out there by herself. So I actually decide to just duck it back. Sorry, my arrows are bad this game. I decide to duck it back there, and then he just castles. So I've allowed him to have this diagonal, but I think it's only temporary because I'm planning on this move. So I immediately play this because now I'm thinking you have to make a choice, bishop. You don't get to stand here prominently. You have to choose which diagonal you go to. If you stay on this one, well, then I can't play here. But if you go here, then I can. So he chooses to stay here. And so now, pretty sure I play the queen up. Yeah, so the queen, now that his bishop has kind of abandoned his king a little bit, instead of going here to protect the king, now I'm threatening a sacrifice here, and then when he takes, the queen swoops in, and it'll be my queen next to his king, and the question is, do I have another piece that can get there to help? And the answer is no, but it's kind of a threat in the air, and just the development of the queen connecting the rooks. So now he comes and he's threatening, to push in and free his bishop, and he doesn't need to defend this because this is already defended, so he's trying to break up the center. I decide to not allow this pawn to sit here, and I just take because I didn't want to see that move block out my bishop someday. And I also don't want a bunch of exchanges here because I don't want the queens come off. My play style is let me keep my bishops, let me keep my queen, and I will try to do a flashy checkmate on the king with long range snipers. That's kind of my play style. So I take, and then he recaptures. Now this bishop supports this pawn push that the queen would also support, and that would fork my bishop and knight and win a piece. So I have to stop that. I can't allow that move. That's probably his first threat in the game, and because it's the first threat period. Because my threat is not really that good. His is good, so I have to do something. So I immediately play f4, and this was part of my plan to. Part of my calculation when I'm taking this pawn is I'm saying as soon as he takes, I'm actually going to play f4, and although I'm blocking my battery, it's only temporary, and it does force this bishop back. Or, yeah, he has to make a decision to go back or take the knight. He decides to take the knight, and now I have successfully won the battle for this diagonal with this bishop. Because by dancing away from his piece and then harassing it multiple times with multiple pawns, it eventually decided to give itself up for my knight. If it stays back here, this bishop wouldn't be as dominant, but because of this, now this bishop's going to be unchallenged. Now I have a choice. Do I take with the queen or with the pawn? Forgive my arrows. If I take with the queen, I'm on a trackpad. Then I protect my pawn structure, and I can play moves like b4 and connect everything. But I wanted to keep this threat in the air of advancing this pawn and sacking here to win the game at the right time. So I decided to take like this. This also gives my rook an avenue against this pawn. And this pawn is hard to defend because you can't push it because I can take, and I also have the bishop support. And the knight needs to develop, and then the rook needs to like defend it. So awkward to defend this pawn. So I have that in the air, but really I was just deciding where do I want my queen to be. I don't care about pawns. I want my queen with my bishops. I'm already thinking about checkmates. Okay? And that's why I like this game. I think this game is very instructive in terms of why a bishop pair is better than a pair of knights. So he develops his knight. He can't develop it up to the best square because of his pawns. So he goes here. Now he's blocking his queen with his knights. And his knights are kind of far back. A better move would have been to immediately take this, and I don't want to trade because I don't want to have our queens looking at each other and we have to waste a move to hide. So anyway, he's trying to reinforce his knights so when he hops there he can have 2 knights. But anyways, I decide to play immediately this move because if he had hopped in immediately, he's attacking my queen and I'd probably slide it to here, but it's an annoying knight and I can't kick it because if I try to kick it, it can hop in here. And when the knight is here, it attacks my rook and it threatens a check. It can be, you know, reinforced with the queen or the pawn. And so I decide I'll play this move now so I'm not allowing it to get to here so it can't eventually get to here. It would have to go this way and then threaten to come in here. But I calculated if it goes here right now, I play g4, and then when it comes in, it hits the rook, and the rook can just move, and then his knight is kind of stranded here. It doesn't have any good places to go after that, so that doesn't work. So he plays rook here, and then I play g4, and I'm really saying you can't play your knight forward. So his knights are completely restricted. They're tripping over each other. This knight can't hop in any direction, okay? Because the opposition of this pawn here, the f3 move. So although I am putting some pawns on my own king side in front of me and making my king a little more vulnerable, his king is the one that's going to be in trouble because I'm the one with the bishops, and they're going to get there faster than the knights will ever attack my king. So king safety is much more of an issue for him than me. Okay, so now he plays here, trying to get some activity. You know, if I take, then he can take with the knight and then maybe hop in here and attack my queen and bishop. I could take because I do have a nice bishop kind of helping, but I could also not take, and then when he takes here, take back. But I could also just completely say my plans are more powerful than yours. I don't care about the queen side. I'm going for your king. So I decide to do that. I play g5. This is an attack on the knight and the pawn at the same time, guaranteeing breaking up the defense of this king, because if he tries to save the knight, I can take here. And then if he takes back, his king's wide open to the queen swinging over and the rooks swinging over when my king gets out of the way. And we will have a good time in that position because of the advantage of the bishop helping. Also, anytime a knight's there, it's in danger of being taken away at any moment. So he takes, and now I take back. And the knight is not allowed to stay here because the pawn is attacking it. Now, where does it go? Well, it can't hop forward. It could try to go here. Or it could try to go back, if depending on how ambitious it's feeling. It decides to go here. I think, I haven't checked with the computer, but this move might be a little better. But again, your only prospect is here, and then from here you're not really, you don't really have a good way out if the queen decides to maybe come and harass it. I don't know. But probably should have been more active with his knight. Instead, he goes back here. And now, another reason he went back here is he has a double attack on this pawn. But I'm defending it twice, unless he wants to sacrifice his rook for my bishop and then win the pawn. But anyway, I decide to play h4. I'm not playing f4 because I'm leaving my bishop with vision, but I'm defending my pawn. Another reason is I could consider this move, immediately attacking the knight and the and this pawn, and then when the knight moves, I can check the king. And so that was a move worth considering. But I decided I want to play h4 because I don't want any variations where the queen takes this with check. If somehow my bishop gets distracted or my queen gets distracted, I need this square protected. So I say I'll play h4 and just have this pawn chain here. And so now I can keep getting closer to his king. Because once all these pawns get exchanged, the bishops should be ready to go. Because I won't have any short range pieces, so I'll be winning in open game. Knights are better in closed games like this, but if it's a bunch of open squares, that's where the bishops are good. So anyway, he takes over here. I could take back, and he's adding pressure to this move, attacking my bishop. But I decide it's not enough to matter, so I go ahead and go with f4 now. And f4 protects this pawn, so now h5 is possible. It also prepares f5, and I'm also getting my rook a little more active, and I'm just really trying to restrict his knights. I don't want his knight hopping in here. Another thing to pay attention to is this break has never been possible, even though I took this pawn and gave him the option of pushing his pawn up. It's never been an option. And then also I was considering like this move to cover this square and even hop my knight in. That's probably why he didn't. That's probably why he killed the knight, because it had a good future. But anyway, he's never really had the option of going there. And now all my pawns are controlling his king side, and I'm not afraid of this because his knight is blocking his queen, and even if it wasn't, my bishop is not actually blocking my queen, because at any point I can take this knight with check, and then the queen can see this middle. So my middle is actually much stronger with the pawn, the bishop, and the discovered check. This is plenty strong to win when he tries to attack me. So I'm not afraid of his plan here. So that's why I just continue to march with the pawns. Now he plays his queen here, preventing f5, because if I play f5, he actually can slide in here and check me. And then if I have to block with the queen, all the fun's over, basically, because we could trade queens. And he would get behind my pawns. That's not good, so I have to leave this pawn here. But I decide I'm going to step my king up. That way I'm preparing f5, so if I really want to play f5, he no longer can attack my king, because I'm basically pulling my sword out as my king and saying, your queen does not get to ever come here or here, because the king is going to fight for these squares. Also, it's preparing moves like if the H file ever opens, now my rook can swing to the H file. So now he hops his knight away, and he's adding defense to this square, maybe threatening to redeploy here. Also just trying to get out of the attack of the bishop. There are situations where the queen could maybe help take that with impunity. So now I play h5 because I decide even though I can play f5, it doesn't feel right. h5 feels right because of the open file that my rooks are ready to use, whereas his rook is over here. Whereas even though I castled just like him, because I moved my king up, and I don't have a knight in my back row clogging me, my rooks are going to be able to utilize the H file and possibly checkmate him. So now he plays his queen again to here, adding lateral defense to the move h6. And he's basically saying, if you play here, I will take, and then when you take, I can take. And what I calculate here is, if your queen ends up here and I lose these pawns and you lose this pawn, my rook can swing over, attack your queen, and if it steps to the side and checks me, I can step out of the check, threatening to bring the other rook to here, and then with both of my rooks here, your king should be sayonara, right? So that was my plan. It turns out it doesn't work, and I'll show you why later. But I play h6. This move isn't a blunder yet. My long-term planning doesn't work, but the short-term planning is working. So all that matters is you play the best move one move at a time. Even if your long-term plans aren't totally concrete or working, as long as you think it's the best move in the position, that's what you should play. Magnus was saying how he only thinks a few moves ahead, or one move at a time, contrary to what many people think the best chess player would do, because there's so many possibilities. You have to reevaluate every move. So anyway, I play here, he takes, and then I take, and now is the question, does he want to swing over? If he does, and I play rook to here, he actually has a good check here, and then even though I can step out of the check, the queen from here supports here. So then he actually is kind of winning this fight, and he makes it awkward for my bishop and pieces. So it actually, and I'm not immediately like winning his queen. So it actually, the best move is after queen takes here, the best move is to play rook up to here, so that whenever he plays this check, I can block the check, and then I'm pinning his queen to his king. Whereas in the other position, because of this tension here, even if I win his queen, which I'm going to do because these rooks are going to be attacking his king and his queen's his best defender there, or it's under attack and stuff. The problem is this push comes with an attack on my bishop, protected by the rook, with an attack on my queen. So even if I win his queen like with check, he's winning my queen and my bishop. So that's why my plan doesn't work if he figures all that out. But instead he prematurely plays this first, and then I take, and then he takes, and he probably thought that my bishop was going to have to retreat here, but I just take because I'm saying, aha, you fell for my trap, because now if you take the free bishop, it's not a check, it's my turn, and then I play check. And then if you take my bishop, I've lost my bishop pair, but then I play queen takes queen. So this bishop is poisoned because the queen defends it after the intermezzo check. So that is why this push is not as powerful as my attacks on his king. It is if he plays this and then I make the blunder of rook h1. Not the blunder, but just not winning anymore. So, like black would equalize if I play rook h1 after queen takes h6. But he plays this first, and then from here, he probably realizes, oh, this guy's not dropping a bishop. This check saves the bishop. So he's like, okay, I'll just take the pawn. Because he didn't want to lose that battle too. But it turns out the bishop was poisoned. In this position, black is losing because the pawn is poisoned and the bishop is poisoned. I already showed why the bishop is poisoned. The reason why the pawn is poisoned is because if you take it, now when I play rook h1, there's no check. Because of what he did in the center, because of me winning the center battle, my bishop actually is on a better diagonal. So if he goes and wins the pawn immediately, I have to find rook f3. But if he, because he pushed these pawns and lost this fight in the middle, now he's really screwed. Now he really can't take the pawn. So when I played rook h1 here, he resigned because there's actually a threat of checkmate. So I'm skewering the queen to the threat of checkmate here. Because the bishop is a beast here. The pawn is blocking its own king. The knight is blocking its own king. And the bishop is blocking it. And then the rook would be here. So basically, if the queen tries to live and dodge this attack, I play rook h8, checkmate, protected by the bishop. And the queen cannot prevent that because the bishop controls this diagonal, and this bishop controls this diagonal. So there's no check on g6. So this is why these two bishops, look how much more powerful and influential they are. At the important juncture of the game, his knight is rendered basically useless because although you control those squares, the queen can't use them because the bishop also controls them. This knight can't hop in here, can't hop in here. This bishop completely controls that as well. And this knight would block its own rook. These are short-range pieces in the back of 2 rows. And these are perfectly placed, controlling way more squares and pivotal squares. So that is why the bishop pair is better. That's why I play the way I play. And that's why he resigned in this position. And then I just want to show you. If he takes here, which obviously I was planning, and I play rook h1, there's the check. And then if I try to go here so that I can play this and win his queen, then he makes this break, and when it's all said and done, my bishop is trapped by my own king. And if I tried to go here, haven't checked this yet. It's having a hard time. Because this is a good move. It's a threat of winning his queen. So if he plays that, takes, and then I should be able to just take, right? Interesting how I can't do this. I'll try refreshing. Loading engine. Oh. Okay, the knight can block. Because this doesn't work, right? Yeah, he can't break through here because the bishop is protected by the queen through the check. And now I'm threatening the queen and the king. So he's losing to rook g1, yeah. But if he plays this at this moment, then that's what he should have been doing, is blocking his king with his knight. But unfortunately, the way he did it, he made my bishop too powerful here. It's probably because he missed the tactic that my queen is protecting this. So then he went with plan B, which was taking the pawn, but that was over to this move. And then what I think is really interesting is if he goes here, rook f3 is actually crushing. It says +1, but I did all the computer moves and white wins because you have it. No, you don't have the check. You lose, and you're about to get attacked. So for a human with the queen and the king here against these two rooks and these bishops, very hard to defend. It's saying f5 is the best to block my bishop. But again, you see how the evaluation starts to like white more and more, even as you play the best moves for black. But anyway, I would have had to find rook f3. But lucky for me, I had the this move, and then he resigns because even if you take the rook, the other rook comes and it's the same deal. But yeah, I'm winning the queen. So anyway, hope you liked that game. I hit my highest rating ever, and then I lost a bunch of games in a row, so I'm happy to have another victory. And I just wanted to share because I thought it was so thematic. These killer bishops and the queen. Basically, all my pieces are in the fight. Even the king played a role getting out of the way and preventing the queen invading. And that's why I think bishops are better than knights. And he missed his chances when he could have hopped in. You know, he kind of missed those opportunities. But anyway, thank you. Bye bye.